So you want more engagement at work. You want to retain the people that you and your team work so hard to be able to find, to be able to interview and onboard. But what can you do to increase engagement from your role in HR? Well, today I'm going to talk about the 5 key roles that you play and some simple quick wins in each. Let's jump in. Whether you're an HR team of 1 or hundreds, you do all this work to be able to recruit, to interview, to onboard, to do all the work to be able to get people into your system and set them up for success within your company. And then you just hand them off to a manager and you don't know what they're going to do. And if all that work was just going to be a waste of time. Do you want to know what you can do to improve engagement from your role in HR? Well, we have those standard roles that we often play. We have that roles of, hey, we're the one who helps identify and onboard new talent. We're the ones who tell people about policies. We run the rewards and recognition program. Well, hopefully you're not doing that because that's actually managers' jobs. But there's many roles that we can play that will actually make the biggest difference in our organization if we learn how to play them right. We're going to first talk about how to move from being human resources and work on rebranding it to being a resource source for our people. Next, we're going to talk about people being a facilitator of growth. How to be able to nurture growth within our organization and make doing that easy. Then we're going to talk about being an employee experience designer. And I'm going to give you a really great activity that you can use with leaders across your organization to get them on board and helping design that experience together. We're going to talk about being a pulse keeper. So you can keep a pulse on what's really going on in the organization and being able to use the information you have to be able to improve that employee experience and help your managers be successful with their people. And lastly, we're going to talk about being a C-suite choreographer, which is actually one of the most important things that you can do from your role in HR. And I'm going to give you a couple quick things that are going to be some easy wins to help your CEO and senior leaders be more successful in designing a culture your people don't want to leave. So whether you're an HR team of 1 or hundreds, you put in a lot of work to be able to get people into your organization, to be able to recruit, interview, to be able to onboard them, and then all the paperwork it takes to be able to get them into your system and all that stuff. You know this better than I do. And then you hand them over to managers and you don't know if they're going to design the kind of experience that's going to have that person stick around and keep them with your organization doing great work for years to come. So today, I want you to rethink some of the roles that you play in HR. And although it may seem overwhelming to have all these different roles, if you actually take time to do each one of these just intentionally, a few minutes each day or a few minutes each week, then it's actually going to save you time in the end. Let's be honest. HR doesn't always have the best reputation in organizations. People are used to hearing from you when there's something wrong or there's a policy change or you're offering trainings on something that they shouldn't do. But one of the things that we need to do if we want to rebrand our relationship with our people is that we need to move from being human resources to being a resource source for our people. Now, if you think about it, as HR, you know all of the resources that managers have available to them. You know the tools, you know the benefits. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, depending on the size of your organization, on our benefits package and our total rewards. But then many people don't even know what they have available to them. I know that I never even thought about my health insurance until I ruptured a disc in my back and I really needed it. And that saved me when that happened. Many people don't even know about the tuition reimbursement that they have at their work and that they can go back to school unless you know about them. But one of the challenges and one of the mistakes I see HR leaders make is that they write up everything, they put it into a 17-page email, and then they send it off to leaders and say, hey, great, I shared it with you, but then nobody can sort it out. They open up the email, it's 17 pages long. I'm not going to read that. So we need, as HR, to be a leader that helps people getting the information that they need when they need it and makes them getting that information easy. Now, here's how you want to think about it. You want to think of yourself in HR as like a sous chef. That your managers are out there and they're the lead chefs and they're cooking every day and they're trying to figure out how to be able to do their job, to be able to set goals, to be able to support each one of their people, to be able to navigate all the drama on their team. And you as HR want to be prepping things over on the side. You want to be cutting the carrots, you want to be cutting the onions, you want to get the garlic ready and all the resources that they have, and then to be able to deliver it to them so they can just grab them, throw them into the pan and cook an amazing meal and have them be a great leader. So the way you want to think about your role in HR is being that sous chef. Your job is to understand what those leaders want and need and when they need it, and then to be able to deliver those things in a way that it's easy for them to digest. So think about just-in-time resources. Now, one thing that's really great you can do is in the beginning of the year, well, you know people are going to be thinking about their goals for the year. So pick 3 questions that managers can ask their people in the beginning of the year. And I actually have a really great video on that we'll link in the video description below. So check that out. You can even send that video to them in the first week of January to get them thinking about the conversations they need to have with their people in the start of the year. Is performance review time coming? Then give them some 3 tips about how to have a better performance review, not a 20-page article. And if you find a 20-page article, then use things like ChatGPT, drop it in and say, give me the 3 most important points from this article, and then send them the summary and then a link out to the article. But as an HR leader, be a resource source by sending them the tools and materials that make doing their job as a leader easier, and then they'll start reaching out to you when it really makes a difference. Now, during performance review season, then find some materials that will make their job in doing the performance reviews easier. But instead of sending them 7 documents and hyperlinks out to everything, just drop it into ChatGPT, summarize it, put the 3 key points at the top, and then send that off to them. Or make it even easier. If you're in the same office, print it out on a 1-pager and drop it off on their desks and say, hey, I hope this makes your job easier. If I can do anything to support you or my team can, know that we're available to you. Here's my contact information. And then people will stop seeing you as human resources and start seeing you as a resource source. So in HR, you already know how important learning and development is, that people feel like they're growing, that they're developing every day, that they're moving forward, and that their job is supporting them to accomplish what they want to accomplish in their life. And that's why it's so key that from HR, we are an ongoing facilitator of growth, that we're helping people get the training, that they're getting the learning that they need. Now, many times people said, yeah, I would love to be able to do this, but many of our leaders think that learning and develop means that they're going to attend a training, that they're going to go to a conference, that they're going to take a course or get a certificate. But many of the most important learning actually happens on the job. And there's many things that you can do without spending a cent. You could do things like TED Talk Tuesdays, where you pick a TED Talk and have each leader play the video and then have 3 discussion questions that they review afterwards. You can have people just debrief at the end of each quarter. What did you learn this last month? How did you grow and how did you develop? Then you want to ask your leaders, hey, what training or what skills are most important that you feel your people need? And then have them look, what are the technical skills that they need? And what are the interpersonal skills they need? And if they had those skills, it would make the biggest difference. Now, just by asking that question of your leaders, as an HR leader, you're sending a message that I care to support you and support your people in doing better. And then once you understand what they need, then curate resources that make helping leaders develop their people easier. Now, what could this look like? Well, give them access to LinkedIn Learning courses. Well, you don't have LinkedIn Learning courses? Well, guess what? If you're in the US, every library has access to LinkedIn Learning for free. There's actually a video on my channel of 9 ways to offer learning opportunities without spending a cent. Share ideas to get leaders thinking about how they can create development opportunities that cost nothing and create the kind of learning environment where people grow and perform better on their teams. Now, the last one is one of the biggest things that we can do is offer mentoring programs. And a simple way to be able to do this, many people are like, well, I don't know, that would be complicated, how we can do it. Well, just do it in the simplest way possible. Hey, you know what? Here's a new employee. We really want them to have a great experience. Who would be a great mentor for them in the program? Reach out to that person and say, hey, would you be willing to meet with this person once a month? And most likely, and this is my experience over the years, many times that person is honored to have the opportunity to be able to mentor and guide somebody else throughout their career. So that's a simple way to be able to offer a learning opportunity without spending a cent. And if you want to do a more formal mentoring program, you can do that as well, but don't overcomplicate it. So next, I want to talk about being an employee experience designer. Now, if you're a customer service organization, you've probably put a lot of intention into designing an experience that your customers love, and ideally share with other customers to bring them over to working with you. Now, we often don't take time to intentionally think about designing an employee experience that they'll love and have them stick around for years to come. So here's what it looks like. You think of who are some of the key influencers in an organization. Maybe it's great managers in certain departments. Maybe it's your communication leader, one of your senior leaders who really gets culture. And you bring them all together into a room. Maybe you invite them and give them lunch for the day and just plan maybe 2 to 3 hours. And then what you want to do is you want to have people think about, where does an employee's experience begin? And then you can map it up on the wall and say our website, and then go into, then what's the first touch point we have with them? And have people map out that employee experience, or you as an HR leader can map out some of those key touch points along the way. And then have a discussion inside that room. What are the informal things, or informal and formal opportunities that we have to be able to signal to people that we value them throughout that whole journey? And then collect ideas from people, and then interview the top managers and things that they do to make sure that people feel valued. And then you can take that information and put a little resource together. And as an HR leader and being a resource source, you can nudge out those simple little wins. Hey, it's day one with your employee. Here are 5 great questions you can use. Or here's 5 things you can do on that first day that employee's in the office. And then, hey, by the way, it's your employee's 1-year anniversary. Here's 3 ideas of things you can do to be able to celebrate and appreciate them on that milestone for them. And by doing that, you're crafting an intentional employee experience that's going to have your people want to stick around. Now, one of the most important roles an HR leader plays is keeping a pulse on what's going on within the organization. And so one of the next roles is being a pulse keeper. Now, this can include running your annual engagement surveys, doing pulse surveys, and also just walking around the organization or calling people to check in about how things are going. Now, many times we are going so fast that we don't have time to do things like this. But I found that some of the most successful HR leaders are just out on the floor talking with people, or attending team meetings and just checking in. And so one simple thing that you can do as an HR leader is just walk around and just do a quick little pulse survey. And here's some of my favorite questions to be able to do that. Is just ask people, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how valued do you feel at work right now? 1, not valued at all, 10, completely valued. And the reason why we use this numeric kind of measure is it's sometimes hard. Hey, do you feel valued at work? I don't know, kind of, I don't know. And so instead of doing that, actually ask. And then somebody will say, I'm a 7. And then you can ask, why did you pick the number you did? And you can then ask, what's one thing we could do to bring that number up? And is there something that keeps on bringing that number down that we could address? And by just asking that question of your leaders, of your individual contributors, you're going to start to understand some of those things that are going on. Now, here's a caveat, and you probably already know this in HR, is that there's going to be certain employees who are going to complain no matter what you say. They're going to be stressed and they're going to be burned out no matter what you say. So make sure when you're asking this question that you're also asking from the employees that you most want to stick around. You're going to have those people that are going to complain. You give them a red Ferrari, they're going to say, you know what, I wanted a black one, right? So those people, don't worry about asking them all the time, but you want to ask those star employees, those ones who are just your steady eddies who do great work. Check in with them on a regular basis, because they're going to be the ones that are going to give you the most honest feedback of what's going on. And when their numbers drop, that's when you want to make sure their leaders and other people know that, hey, you know what, it's time to check in. And actually, check out my video on having stay conversations that we'll also include in the video description below. Now, the last one, and I think one of the most important roles that you can play in HR, is being a C-suite choreographer. Now, many times our senior leaders are really well-intentioned, but without realizing it, many times they do more damage than good. They forget to recognize people, they don't know the names of people, all they talk about is the results, and forget to acknowledge the work it took to produce the results. And this is where you can really make a huge difference and increase the value that you add as an HR leader. So here's a really great tip that you can use, and it's one of my favorite ones to share with senior leaders, is if they have a senior leadership meeting, instruct them to get into the ritual of every meeting asking this question. Who's somebody who flies under the radar but does really great work? And then have leaders go around and have them call on somebody at random. And the reason why you call on random is that everyone's going to come prepared to answer the question. But what you want to do is, after they ask the question, follow up and say, hey, what did you do to let them know that you value them? And if your senior leader asks this question in every one of their senior leadership meetings, what's going to happen? All those senior leaders are going to show up ready to answer that question each week. And then they want to mix it up by saying, hey, who on another team really helped your team out this week? And if the senior leader puts an emphasis on recognizing people, what's going to happen is those leaders are going to put an emphasis on it as well, and it's going to trickle down within your organization. And that's going to make a huge difference. Now, another thing is you can encourage your senior leader, if you're having town halls, find great stories. Hey, you didn't even know this, but Corbin, who's on your team, you know what he did last week? He actually did this whole video filming thing that really helped people out. I'm talking to Corbin, who's behind the camera right now, right? Is he did this amazing project here, and it actually got featured on this over here. You probably haven't seen it yet. Check this out. So in the next town hall, make sure you call him out for the amazing work he's doing. And make your senior leader's job in recognizing people just easier. A couple other quick tips that you can use. When the senior leader has a town hall, give them a couple questions they can ask, like, hey, who wants to give a shout out to somebody on the team, or share about some great work that a team that doesn't get noticed, like IT, HR, accounting, finance, the ones that people only reach out to when something goes wrong. Have them call out those departments and thank them for the work they're doing. And another tip, many times senior leaders try to recognize people and say the right thing, and so it looks awkward, like, good job on doing that thing that you do. Instead, encourage them to ask questions. Hey, what are you working on that your team's really proud of? What are some of the challenges you're facing? And just by doing that, it's going to have those people on those teams feel more seen, more valued, and help you design the kind of experience that people don't want to leave. So I want to wrap this up by thank you for the work that you're doing in HR. And if I can support you in any way, just reach out to me at beyondthankyou.com.